Welcome back to Don's Life. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining today. Today we're going to take a ride and talk about the Radenso Pro M radar detector and why I chose this one for my vehicles. Let's go. Now, I've been testing this unit here for over 3 months. I thought it was best to do some thorough testing before sharing my findings here on the channel. Now, are there better radar detectors out there? Yeah, I'm sure there are. I also have to consider what's available to me here in Canada to purchase that easily. And I chose this one. Radenso does say that out of the box it's ready to use, and I'd agree for the most part. I still recommend, at least for the areas I've used it, to turn off X-band and K-band. I found X only popped up a couple of times, and it had more to do with something going on in residential areas that was not a law enforcement with the radar. And then K was going off often with those like school zone sensors. I don't speed through school zones, but you know, they have these static radar systems set up for some communities, including school zones, that will measure your speed. And those can get annoying because it picks them up from so far away that it's just beeping the whole time. And I recommend turning those two off. Now, I've been testing this radar for 3 months. I've gone on a number of road trips. You may have watched some of them on this channel, but I've been to Alberta, Saskatchewan, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Utah, Montana, Nevada, Idaho. Maybe I missed one, but the point of me bringing that up is because those different areas of the country, they may employ different radar technologies, and this one picks all of them up. Radenso will tell you that it's ready to go right out of the box, and it is for the most part. I'm just going to show you a quick summary of all the different settings so you can kind of grasp how much is actually there that you can customize. So we'll have a look at that menu now. So we'll look at the sheer amount of features and settings you can configure. Like I said, for the most part, this is ready to go out of the box. So for me, I would just turn off 2 of these settings, at least for the areas I traveled. I'd turn off X-band and K-band. They're typically radars that are just false alerts anyway, and you don't usually need them, but you could keep them on if you want. A couple things I really love about this unit is because it's GPS enabled, it gives you the red light camera warnings as well as speed camera warnings. So as you're approaching them, it'll let you know how many meters or yards you're away, and it'll do a countdown until you're going to get there, so you can make sure that your speed is where it needs to be safe.
Speed cam, limit 90.
Sorry about the hard to read display. It's just a frame rate issue compared to what the camera's recording at. Otherwise, the display is crisp. You just have to take my word for it. It even plays a little chime to reward you, almost like a power-up if you passed at a safe speed. I know what you're thinking, red light cameras and speed cameras may change locations frequently. That's okay, super easy to update. Just plug it into your computer, it downloads the file, takes literally seconds, and then it's ready to go. So a big feature that this has is multi-radar technology. So if you have MRCT or MRCD radars, essentially those are the radar systems that are set up to use a changing frequency band. So you'll have the sweep of frequencies that it goes through, and a lot of radar detectors can't pick that up. So this does, and it does it well. So here in Canada, in Alberta and Saskatchewan, especially in Alberta and some places in the States, they'll park vans or trucks, unmarked vehicles essentially, on the side of the road, sometimes on a side street, and they can still get you at an angle, take a picture of your plate, and a lot of radar detectors don't pick that up. This one does, so that was a selling feature for me. So multi-radar is also found on utility poles, often in intersections or close to intersections where people might speed through and they'll get you. So I was showing you there's a bunch of settings specific to MRCD and MRCT, so that multi-radar, have both of them set to narrow and then have the filter set to high. And I found that it works pretty good. They'll also recommend that setting on their website. A great feature this has is blind spot monitoring, also known as BSM. So it really filters out all those annoying false alerts that you get from the other vehicles that are boosting their blind spot monitoring signals so they don't get into collisions. I've had lots of radar detectors, and false alerts can get very annoying. And with all the tech that's on vehicles now, from the cruise control systems, from the crash detection alert systems, there's all these signals that are going on, and this radar does a great job filtering them out. And you may have heard that Honda or Acura cars, their technology often tricks radars into thinking it's an actual radar threat. This filters it out beautifully. Super easy to adjust the volume and the settings. Volume's just on the left here. What I do like is that initial threat, when it detects it, it's a little bit louder, and then it steps the volume down. Also, you can customize the tone of each of the different frequencies that you're trying to detect, including laser, so you can distinguish them without having to look at it to see what's going on. In my 2 long road trips where I was really testing this unit, I picked up KA band almost every time there was an actual cop that was having the radar on. I picked up laser, I think, once. What I did like about this, though, is it has pretty good range. There's some that have better range. This is still above average, but it would have a small, low-powered blip when KA would come on. So the signal strength might be a 1 or a 2 or a 3. And then usually about another 1.5 miles, 2 miles out, then you would see there was the cop, and you would see that signal strength just climb. So I didn't get any tickets on any of these road trips, and I went several thousand miles on 2 different road trips, one in the Midwest and then one to Vegas and back, and I did not get one speeding ticket. Got a tint ticket, but no speeding tickets. So earlier I mentioned this has GPS built in. That comes in handy, especially when it comes to false alerts. Not that they're false alerts necessarily, but because it has built-in GPS, if I was to go through the same neighborhood that had maybe a speed detection radar set up just for the purposes of, you know, measuring your speed and displaying it on a sign, I can just push the GPS lockout button on the top here, and it will remember that location on the GPS, and it'll keep that spot muted going forward, and I don't have to worry about it being set off. If you're traveling in areas that radar detectors are not permitted for use, this is invisible to VG2 and Spectre radar detectors, so you should be safe. There are some radar detectors that got some really nice multicolored OLED displays or LED displays. This one's probably on the plainer side, pretty conservative. What I like though is it's not a distraction and it doesn't suffer from burn-in. Also has a built-in compass, which it reads out on here, as well as it tells you your vehicle's current speed. And I found that when I move it between each of my vehicles, I could tell that one of my 3 vehicles, the speedometer is actually off, and that'd be my BMW. So a big consideration for me was the form factor. I travel a lot for work. I need to use this in rental vehicles. Something that fits in the palm of my hand was very appealing to me, as well as I want to be able to use it in my BMW, in our Escalade, in my truck, and to be able to move this from vehicle to vehicle, including a rental, is very convenient. I've got my universal charger in here, which I can use on the rental vehicles. My suction cups are right here. I can pop this into the case, zip it up, and it's ready to go. Probably wouldn't put it in my jeans pocket, but I can throw it in my bag, and I've got a radar detector. And if you want to keep it super convenient, check out my mirror tap video where I left a mirror tap pulling power from my camera mirror in my GMC Sierra. I've also done the same thing in the Cadillac Escalade, and I've also done a universal mirror tap in my BMW. If you don't own one of these trucks, you can use the universal mirror tap method. Well, that really concludes today's video of my review of the Radenso Pro M and why I chose it for my lifestyle and the features that I wanted. It is probably my current favorite radar detector. Yeah, there's some out there that have, you know, longer range, but then they don't have multi-radar capabilities. So you have to decide what's important to you, and also look into the area that you live in on what law enforcement uses for their radar systems, because it does vary. And this can be programmed to have some of the features to be more sensitive for, say, Eastern United States or Eastern Canada compared to what we use out here in the West, because there are differences. So fully customizable. I'd recommend it. I purchased this for myself. It's not a sponsored video. But if you like today's video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time.